The Bigfooty Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, Conda, power. I love the power. I love the power.
G'day everyone, I'm Macca19 and this is the Bigfooty Port Adelaide podcast, back once again for season 2017. As usual, brought to you live on Port Fan Radio. Joining me in the co-host chair once again for this season is Rick. How are you, buddy?
Buddy, I'm back and footy's back and you're back. Isn't it exciting?
This is very exciting, I got to say. Very, very exciting. Can you believe that this is the 5th season that we've been doing this?
You know, funny enough, I just spoke to someone in the car today that knew nothing about Port Fan Radio, and it was just astounding to me and that they knew nothing about it. And I said, I counted on my fingers, 13, 14, 15. I was like, shit, we've been going for the 5th year now. This is amazing.
This is crazy.
I don't understand.
It's gone really quick, I've got to say. It's gone pretty quick.
It has. Do you remember the initial discussion we had about doing this show in the first place?
I do, yep.
And the reservations you had about doing it with me?
Yes, there's still plenty, I have to say. They haven't changed at all, but there we go.
I'm still the same as well. I haven't changed at all either.
Yeah. Well,
except for being a vegan and a Buddhist and everything else.
That's great. So how was your off-season, mate?
Very busy, yeah. So just working and living life and, you know, trying to spend time with the kids and going on holidays, as some people have seen, and, you know, following the vegan path and the Buddhist path and the sporting path. It's a tough life.
It is, mate. Very, very tough.
And what about you?
Yeah, good off-season, good Christmas, lots of changes. Changed my job for the first time in 8 years, so working back in Adelaide, which is great, and hopefully with a view of moving back home sometime soonish. So, yeah, lots of stuff happening in the off-season in the Macca.
What's your definition of sometime soonish?
Oh, probably in the next 12 months.
I think the Port faithful, all the fans of yourself, Macca, will be joyous with that. You'll be like Neo in the Matrix, and everyone will be bringing you bowls of food and wanting to listen more to your dulcet tones and all that sort of stuff.
Look, I hope so, mate. I hope so. I'm always hungry, so if anyone wants to bring me food, I'm pretty happy about that.
Good work.
So, did you do much thinking about Port Adelaide over the summer?
Do you want me to be honest?
Yep.
Not really, because I was quite depressed.
Fair enough.
I actually wanted to go in with a fresh mind for the season and just sort of detach from the disappointment of 2016 and 2015. Does that make sense?
It does, mate. It does. Yep.
Especially last year.
I was the same. I didn't watch any highlights. I didn't watch any games from previous years. We did our draft stuff at the end of last year, and that was pretty much it until about 4 or 5 weeks ago when I started looking at vision of this year's draftees coming up for this year's draft. And, that's about it, really.
Can I just say, though, quickly on that one, congratulations to you and Portia. Obviously I was away for that show, but you guys smashed it. I mean, what was it, 700 live listeners or something ridiculous like that? It was.
And it's had 3,500 listens overall so far on Spreaker alone. So yeah, it's probably been the biggest one we've done.
Yeah, and coincidentally, I wasn't involved in it, so I don't know if there's a message there or not. But
I think there is, but we won't go into that today.
But thank you to everyone that tuned in and listened, because that's a huge effort. And, you guys, everyone's really proud of that. So let's see if we can ramp it up for 2017 and get a bigger and better performance even again.
I think so. That's certainly the plan. I've got to say huge thanks to both Dylan and also Jimmy Unchained for all their help getting the Port Fan Radio website up to date and running pretty smoothly over the off-season. There's now a lot of content on there.
Yes.
And it is very, very much appreciated, I have to say.
Yes, so please check out Port Fan Radio website. That would be great. And, you might see we might have a crafty strategy to try and get you guys to go there anyway by subterfuge. But, thank you very much for helping out, boys, because everyone that's involved is doing this for the love and not for money.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get straight into it and talk about the family day, which was last Friday. Rick, you were there. I was working, unfortunately, so I couldn't make it. But what were your impressions, mate, on the evening overall?
Well, I thought the crowd was good and substantial. And it sort of had a bit of a different vibe, I guess, to previous years. I noticed some people commented on that. I don't know, it just didn't seem to have that same carnival feel. I don't know if it's because they integrated the season launch with the family day, which I was I was invited to with Bigfooty. So, but look, I thought, from what I saw of the game, it was great. Obviously, I took my girlfriend there, who's from America, and she just really wasn't interested in watching the football at all, to be honest. But I tried explaining it to her, but that sort of drifted as well. But look, I thought David Koch spoke really well once again, and as you would expect, there was a massive and heavy focus from him on China and the influence of China. So basically, I think Keith Thomas has reported as well. The CCTV, is it CCTV?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It sounds like a security station, but yeah, basically 3 million viewers on that station, which is more than what we get in one round. So he spoke about that and the exposure and trying to get into the university programs. And I think it was something, I'm going off of memory here, but I think they've got like 14 schools or universities that are going to accept the AFL in their school program for training their kids. And still the potential windfall to come from it is huge. And I think, because we're a nice giving club, we're sharing some of the TV games with the rest of the league and not just us. I think that was his little sarcastic pun there. But so, look, that was his focus and really focusing on businesses to potentially look at doing the expo there and inviting fans just to travel along. In relation to the game, I thought Jackson looked really strong and secure, even up forward. He was moving really well. I didn't notice Justin Westhoff very much. I didn't notice Matthew Broadbent a lot. I think it's Riley. Is it Riley Bonner, number 26?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Riley did a few standout things. I still like the looks of him. As people spoke about, I thought Chad Wingard looked very strong in the midfield, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity for Chad, and I think it's the right decision for us as a club to play Chad in the midfield. I guess people look. The senior players were coasting, right? I mean, it's a trial game, so it's really hard to see anything in physicality or ball movement and all that sort of stuff. But look, I guess I would have expected the black team to probably have been more dominant in the first half and broken away a bit more.
Okay, fair enough. I guess the standout performance for me was Youngie, who kicked 4 goals playing up forward. I think he was one that I wasn't all that sure about coming into this year, but that's a great sign. Yeah,
look, he's just continuing on his form from last year, isn't he? And I guess the interesting thing with that will be, is he really going to... Well, I think he's going to back it up. I think he's at that age that he can back it up. But I guess my question is Angus going to be the automatic inclusion?
Well, I guess it depends. I mean, I think Angus is injured at the moment, so that might hold against him. Look, if Youngie keeps kicking goals, then I think it would be hard to leave him out of the side come round 1, that's for sure. Yeah,
look, I think what he did last year, and if he continues even above average performance, he deserves to be in that round 1 team on the half forward flank and just see where he goes. And look, you know what, he's been a bit of a...
Competition for spots is a good thing as well. We haven't had that for a few years now. And look, if Gus can play well, if Youngie can play well, you've still got guys like Amon and Need, and you want to fit guys like Powe, Pepper and Atley in the side as well, maybe even Drew. If they're all pushing for senior selection, that's a very good thing.
Well, we need that, don't we? I mean, that's probably been one of our biggest issues, and I guess we're talking about not reflecting on the season from last year, but we all thought we had a lot of depth coming into last year compared to 2015 and 14, but our depth was really shallow once again, and those Brendan Archies and Sam Grays and all that sort of type of player just really weren't able to step up when we needed them to.
Yeah, no, that's right. That is right. Lobie was another one who I thought, he had a lot of positive press after his performance on Friday, and there were some that thought he wasn't that good as well. But did you see much of his game, and what did you think of it?
I don't know. It's hard. I'll probably need to focus the whole game just on watching him. But again, it's a trial game, so I guess there's a lack of physicality in relation to his marking ability. Did he look more mobile? Probably not. I think, the couple of taps that I saw, Jackson actually beat him sort of one-on-one, which I don't think is reassuring. He should, as a dominant number one ruck, he should be beating someone like Jackson, and that's no offence to Jackson. So, and I thought Paddy was moving quite well on him as well. So, that's not to say that it was horrible, but I'm not convinced. But it's a long season. I guess we need to see the trial games. And let's face it, I don't think Paddy's going to be at 100% fitness come round one, is he? So we really need Matt Lobie stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's move on and talk about a bit of a preview for this year ahead, 2017. A couple of years ago when we started this podcast, we looked like we were really on the precipice of glory, especially after 2014. But the last 2 years can only really be described as a bit of a disappointment given pre-season expectations for the last couple of years. What are your expectations for this year, and is it boom or bust for Kenny Hinkley?
I think so. I think it's also boom and bust for a lot of players. I think there's around 17 rough players out of contract. Some seniors, some fringe. I'd imagine the club's going to be holding pretty tight on those contracts and not jumping the gun like previous years and getting people signed up. It's an interesting one. I think, look, Ken's it's going to be in the sights. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think they'll get rid of him if he's got another non-final season in him? I have a suspicion we almost have no choice.
Yeah, look, if we don't make the finals this year with the squad that we've got, I really can't see Kenny Hinkley staying on for 2018. I think they'll part ways, whether by mutual agreement or not. I think he'll be out the door, which I think will be fair enough because you're on the brink of success, and then you don't make finals for 3 years running. Things have got to change if that's the case. I hope not. I am expecting to make the finals this year. I think we've got a really good squad. I'm liking what's come out of pre-season training at the moment. Hopefully our skills have improved. We're looking a little bit bigger as well. Hopefully we're a bit fitter than what we've been in the last couple of years. But certainly the expectations for me this year are a top 8 finish.
Well, it's interesting. That was one thing that Koshy spoke about that I didn't talk about, was he really pumped up our high performance department. He really pumped them up as world class, state of the art.
For the last 3 years as well. It hasn't really done much. So.
Well, he was pumping those tyres pretty big as far as I was concerned, and that's what I was saying. I was the same as you. I was like, well, I'm not really seeing what you're seeing, but so you'd have to think if. And I don't want to be too doom and gloom about this season, but you'd think maybe the high performance department's going to get reviewed too if Ken doesn't make it, because but I'm optimistic. I think I still think we've got a strong playing personnel. I still think we've been a little bit outperformed in the coaching department as well, and that's not just Ken Hinkley but all the coaches. So I think strategically and structurally. We've been exposed at times, and I'm not necessarily sure it's not having a plan B or C or whatever, but I guess we just haven't really had a methodical game plan and ball movement process compared to the top tier teams. And I guess as the pre-season goes on, that's what I'm really going to be looking for. And if you remember when we were at the parade a couple of pre-seasons ago, I think it's all a bit of a blur now. I think that was 2015, but
it was.
What really stood out to me with that West Coast game at the parade was we had no transition play, whereas in 2014 we had that transitional play which really broke the game open for us, and really that became the beginning of our downfall, and almost a bit Choco-esque with Ken Hinkley. he hasn't been able to sort of adjust and seems to be a little bit stubborn in what he wants to do, or he seems to be chasing what other teams want to be doing, whereas I would have preferred that he looked at the 2014 game plan and goes, you know what, it's 80% there. Yeah, they've created this wall on the half-back line that we've sort of struggled to penetrate. Let's just tweak it a little bit and then off we go and see if that works, instead of just throwing it all out completely and just trying to copy what everyone else is doing. So
no, that's a fair call. I do think that's a fair call. We've had a couple of messages on the Spreaker chat. Thanks for everyone that's listening live. Portia has written in and said, finals or bust. Our list is as experienced as possible and ageing for no return. And you've got to say that's probably about right. You know, if we don't make finals this year, then it could be a long road back. You know, with the age profile of our list.
I hope we're top 4, to be honest.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's been my expectation the previous 2 seasons, and I think, as Portia rightly said, with our age profile, we should be top 4 as far as I'm concerned. And you know, if Matt Lobey can improve his performance back to 2014 form, well, with Paddy Ryder and Jackson, I think that's probably been our Achilles heel, the ruck. Hopefully that will be the difference to launch us there, and obviously sustaining minimal injuries throughout the season as well.
Yeah. So the skills are probably the main thing that I want to see an improvement in from the last couple of years. I think last year, you know, you'd almost be fair to say that we were league worst across the board in terms of our skills. Certainly our ability to try and hit targets inside 50 or moving through the midfield, we really, really struggled. Is that enough to sort of bump us up into the 8 if we improve our skills?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely. Our skills has been really disappointing, so we need to improve on that. And I noticed during the Family Day trial game that the black team especially, were focusing on ball retention, and they were doing okay. But again, it's a trial game, so who knows what it's going to do under pressure. And I noticed probably, what do you think about is the pressure on Ollie Wines with his skills and disposal?
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't think if he has another sort of bad year in terms of his ball movement, I don't think we're going to trade him or anything like that. But I think, you know, he's almost in that Nick Stevens stage where he's an 8 out of 10 player. Now it's up to him to go that extra step and really become one of the elite of the competition. I think he's got it in him. It's just a matter of him, you know, honing down and refining his skills, which can be a bit loose at times. But, you know, I think he does also cop a bit of a raw deal. He was just about our major ball winner last year, especially through the midfield. And he does a lot of good as well, I think.
Well, is that what maybe is unfair on him? Because he's getting so much contested ball that it does become, you know, a bit unrealistic to expect that he's going to have the same disposal efficiency as, say, Jared Polek, who's a little bit outside/inside, more outside than inside.
Yeah, look, inside midfielders have a low disposal efficiency as a stat across the board. It just comes part and parcel with that sort of role. But that's not really the issue here. The issue is that when he gets loose and he sort of handballs to someone's feet, or he, you know, misses a target by 5 metres, you know, that's the sort of thing that he really needs to hone down on. And it's those easy disposals that he really needs to work on and getting 100% right.
Yeah. Look, no excuses. Well, there's no excuses really for anyone except for the first year players. Yeah. I'd hope that he just needs to improve 50%. He'll be a superstar. He's a superstar now, and I'd be very concerned if we really are strongly wanting to trade him. That's for sure. Yeah.
Look, to improve, we need to leapfrog from 10th to make the finals this year. Who do you think will drop out to let us in to that top 8?
Good question. Who was in the finals?
I'll go first. I think, looking at face value, I'd expect North Melbourne to drop out. With their sort of list changes, they've lost a lot of experience. I don't think they've got the young talent coming through to make up that sort of difference. So I'd expect them to drop out. I think Hawthorn are a big chance to drop out as well, especially losing Lewis and Mitchell. West Coast are possible as well with the loss of Nat Nui for the year. I'm not sure they can cover that. So I think there's enough teams that could fall out. It's just whether we will be good enough to get in. You've got to look at teams like St Kilda and Melbourne, who are young and improving. Freo won't be anywhere near as bad as this year. And I think Essendon are a team that will spike up the ladder quite sharply as well. Richmond are another team that have added some big names across the board. So I think competition for top 8 spots this year is going to be pretty tough.
Do you think Western Bulldogs could have a hangover this year?
I think it's certainly potentially could happen. You know, they did only finish 7th last year before the finals, so they did make history by winning the flag from that spot. So certainly it might not take much for them to lose a couple of extra games and find themselves out of the 8.
Look, I think you're right with North Melbourne. Definitely there. I don't know, West Coast maybe. I think there could be a question mark, but I guess Lysett is pretty serviceable for them. So did they keep Giles as their backup ruckman? I thought he was reasonable as well.
I'm pretty sure they did, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. What about Adelaide? Are they going to repeat?
I think they've got a pretty nice draw, so I would be expecting them to make the finals this year as well, to be honest.
What's the historical average? One team drops out and one replaces them. It's not a massive turnover in the top 8, really, is there?
It's usually 1 or 2. Usually there's a team from the bottom 8 that jumps up into the top 4. That seems to happen every year. That's one of those sort of quirky stats that happens. But
that's one of the bottom 4 bolters, isn't it?
Yeah, usually a bottom 4 team makes the top 8, and usually a bottom 8 team makes the top 4, and 2 teams sort of drop out. So I think, as I said, I think there's probably 11 or 12 teams on paper that might be good enough to make a top 8 this year. But obviously the season, injuries happen, form happens, unrest, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully we're on the good side of that ledger and we sneak ourselves in.
Do we have to use our home ground advantage better?
Well, we only won, 4 home games last year, so absolutely we do. Yep.
And why do you think we've lost that advantage at home? What's going on? Is it just nothing other than poor play, or teams have acclimatised, or we're just unlucky, or what's the story?
I think it was just coincidence last year in terms of our home games. I think we were almost there. I think we lost a lot of games last year by under a couple of kicks, which could have gone either way. You look at the Dogs game for an example of that. I don't think there's anything drastic in it. I think it's just one of those sort of funny stats that have happened in one particular year.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that reverts itself, because only winning 4 games at home sucks.
Yeah, it's not good enough. We really need to win 8 or 9 if we're going to make the finals.
Correct.
So let's have a quick look at the fixture for this year. We've got double ups against the Crows, Brisbane, Collingwood, Gold Coast and West Coast. It's a pretty kind group, that one. And one where potentially we could see an advantage if we do win against this group, which we really should.
Yeah, I think so. I guess we're going to go with the traditional assumption that we win 1, lose 1 against Adelaide, I'd imagine.
I would expect so. I think you would hope that we would win both against Brisbane. I would be expecting we win both against Collingwood and Gold Coast as well. And hopefully we sneak 1 against West Coast. So if we can come out of that with 8 wins from those 5 teams, I'd be pretty chuffed about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. And I guess, I don't know, I'm a bit scared after the last 2 seasons of doing these sort of predictions. But yeah, you'd think that's a logical assumption. And I guess the biggest out of those double-up games, which you're going to get to in a second, will be Port playing Gold Coast in China.
Yes, indeed. The landmark game in China.
How important is that for us to win that game, do you feel?
I think it's becoming extremely important, especially with some of the press that's happened over the last few days. I think, I'm not a fan of sort of making an issue out of Gold Coast Guernsey. I think it is what it is, and just get on and concentrate on winning that game, I think.
Yeah, I guess I think it's probably not from a Chinese supporter perspective, because I don't think they're really going to understand much about the game anyway. But I think from a Chinese business perspective and from the club wanting to gain more credibility. I think that's where it's really important. And I guess, going onto the live Chinese TV over the last year and, not coughing up enough successful performances at home, like we just spoke about, I think, I'd really like to see a transition to some success in front of the Chinese, and I think that could really drive future sponsorship for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it's a successful venture. I think it needs to be for the success of the club long term as well. If we can make some decent money out of that, it will certainly help. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And did you know that I'm abstaining from alcohol for a year, Macca?
Are you?
I am. I've decided I'm going to get on a power fitness crusade, support the boys, and so I'm not going to drink, and I'm following my veganistic regime so I can maintain a peak fitness for my triathlons that I do.
Okay, a lot of wine is vegan friendly.
It is. I chucked that all in there for Al Carlton because he kept going on about my corny jokes and triathlon and veganism. So I threw that in there for you, Al.
That's it. Look, I'll certainly pick up the slack, mate, and drink your share as well.
Yeah, please do. I've got some nice wine in the fridge. Maybe you should pop over and have a sample.
That's it. I'll drink it and you can watch.
That sounds fair.
The big question is, are you going to be attending the Chinese game?
I would like to, and I messaged you before Christmas saying that I would. However, it will be a bit of a question mark for me. I'm going to Bali for the last 3 weeks of April, and then I'm supposed to be in the States at the end of May. So I'm not sure, and I've just seen the dentist, and he's given me a quote for what I need to do. So I might just have to retire from living for the next 2 years so I can afford to do everything.
Yep.
But what about you?
Yes, I will be attending. Yep. I've got one of the T-Lee travel packages, so I'll be heading over there for 5 days and hoping we can see a win over there.
And how much did that cost you, just if you don't mind me asking?
I think the total package was a couple of grand overall, I think.
That's okay. That's reasonable.
I was very lucky enough to get it as a gift. So.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Awesome. For a couple of $1,000 for almost a week's holiday and watching your footy team, I guess for the supporters the supporters that can afford it, that's not a bad price, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, isn't it? Like the first game for points. I feel bad. I sort of encouraged you to join me and come along, and now I've just pulled the rug out and said, no, I'm not going.
That's understandable, mate. That's totally fair enough. But it does sound like there's a lot of Port fans heading over, which is great. I think I know about 10 or 12 myself, but apparently the packages are selling like hotcakes, and there's going to be a sea of Port Adelaide fans over in China.
So does that mean you could be like a Port Fan Radio live correspondent for the week that you're in China?
We might be able to work something out. You never know.
Well, I've had to sacrifice on my travels.
The preview over there.
Yeah, I reckon that's a great idea.
At 2 a.m. or something.
Mate, there's a little segue story, right? On the 29th of December, I'm in Vienna staying at a friend's apartment, and I get an email that day from a radio station asking me if I could do a radio interview for them, and I said sure. So 1:30 in the morning at Vienna time, I'm doing a radio about first home ownership for people in Sydney. So if I can do that, there's dedication. You can be dedicated and do it for Port Fan Radio.
That's it. Look,
do it.
If it's possible, I certainly will be, that's for sure. And Solstar's written in and said he's heading to China as well, so that's great. Hopefully there's a few more Port Fan Radio fans out there, which will be heading across as well. That'll be wonderful. But look, I think heading back to the fixture overall for a minute, I think from round 15 onwards, it's really going to determine our finals chances. We play Richmond, West Coast, North, then Melbourne, St Kilda and Adelaide, who are all thereabouts for a finals shot, I would think. So we really need to come out of that run with a positive win-loss ledger, I would think.
I think you could probably go a little bit earlier than that, Macca, to be honest. I think we need to really have a springboard for the first 6 rounds and really set ourselves up. I think if we're 2 and 4, I think there's going to be real warning signs. Once again, I think we need to really step it up and have a strong platform. And it doesn't matter how tough the games are. I mean, what have we got? Sydney away, and then Freo.
Really hard.
Freo at home. Well, we should do it right at Freo at home, surely. And then Crows, obviously, a 50-50 game. It's our home game. And then Giants away. And GWS is my early pick for the flag, to be honest. But so that will definitely be a tough one. And Carlton at home, which is amazing that we're playing Carlton here, and Brisbane away. So, we should hopefully be around 4 and 2 with that sort of fixture if we're in form, and that will springboard our season. If we're 2 and 4, I'll be a little bit worried, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so. If we can be 4 and 2, I'll be pretty happy with that start to the year. So let's move on and talk about the big improvers list-wise for our playing list. Who do you expect to be the big improvers for Port Adelaide this year?
All right, I'm going to go with Tom Jonas.
Yep.
Are you happy for me to put down Tom Jonas?
Well, I thought he had a pretty decent year last year before his incident and falling off the face of the earth. I thought he was having a pretty decent season, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah. So I'm going Tom Jonas, and I'm going Jack Homsch, and I'm going to go Darcy Byrne-Jones to lift it to another level.
Okay, that'd be good. I'll be pretty happy with that. I'm going to go with Jared Polec. I'm hoping he's going to be over his injury and will be ready to steamroll the competition once again. And look, I think Jarman Impey, it's time for him to really stand up this year. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of physical prowess. It's really time for him to put that together. I think he could be an absolute superstar. And it's time for him to shine, I think. And my man Riley Bonner is another one who I'm expecting to play a lot of footy this year and really improve our skill set, especially coming out of the back line.
I really like your call on Jared Polec, because he did look pretty smooth and he was running okay. But again, I think that he's one player that we need to really see under the heat of battle to really make that a aspersion if he's going to be coming good or not. But we need him to come good, and
we need him getting 20-22 touches a game, because his foot skills are that good. If he gets his hands on the ball, we're going to win.
And mate, they were good on the family day. Absolutely, when he got the ball, he looked good. So and he did look like he was moving back in 2014 form. And his injury was tough. It's a tough injury, and it's amazing. It's crippled some people's careers. So I guess it's always going to take a bit of time for him to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's under the pump this year, mate?
Well, state the obvious. I think Matt Loby's under the pump.
Yep.
I wonder if under the pump you could almost argue, and I guess this is a bit of a controversial one, sort of Jackson from a positional front. I don't think he's under the pump from an AFL career perspective, but if he's going to be switched forward, like become a makeshift forward and a ruckman, and he loses out he needs to make it work, because if he doesn't make it work, even though he was such a battler and fantastic for us last year, I just wonder if he sort of could be lost in a positional sense where the club thinks it might be worth trading him for higher value than keeping him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Well, I think Trego's a wonderful player and had a fantastic year last year, but look, if he's going to be spending a lot of time up forward, he needs to contribute up there. He hasn't really spent a lot of time up forward in his career yet to date. He's played the odd sort of quarter or half up there before, and he can take a good grab. He is a neat kick for goal. So look, if he can become a 1.5 goal a game player, that'd be wonderful.
And not only that, he's a fantastic club person. He always talks so highly of the club. He's passionate of the club. He lives and breathes Port Adelaide, and that would be the big risk with trading him, because he is such a club-orientated player. And I guess the other one's Charlie Dixon.
For sure. I was not a fan of his year last year. I thought he had a dirty season. Hopefully he can stay injury-free, can play 22 games, and head towards that sort of 55 to 60 goal mark, which we were expecting last year. That'd be wonderful. He just needs to grab those marks where he gets free, those uncontested grabs, which he really struggled with last year. His contested marking's fine. It's when he gets on the lead and he drops the simple ones, which is an issue. So, look, I'm all for him having a huge year this year. We need him to if we're going to make the finals. We're going to be relying on him a lot, I think, going forward. So, yeah, he certainly needs to have a big one. I think Hamish Hartlett's another one that needs to have a big year. There's been a lot of negative press about him over the last sort of 6 to 8 months. There was talk he was going to be traded, then he didn't want to be traded. He's chosen to stay. He needs to, if he's going to be playing down back, he needs to improve his ability to get the ball, his ability to use the ball, and become that match winner that we need. Jimmy Toumpas is another one who's under the pump. He didn't deliver last year. He's certainly going to find it hard to work his way into the side, I think. Matty White's another one. I think it's going to be his last year. It's debatable whether he should have even got this year, I think. And then there's some young guys like Archie and Amon who need to deliver as well.
Oh my God, it's I've got a mental blank. Yeah, Hamish Hartlett. I mean, the press is saying he's going to be repositioned to the half-back line. I thought most of last year he played the half-back line.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
So I don't see where this new opportunity and repositioning is coming from, because that's where he played last year, fellas.
Well, he was better off being on the bench, I think, last year with his form down back. So he really does need to improve that. And find a way to deliver the ball better coming out of the back line and make some sort of impact. I hate him back there. I think it's a huge mistake. But whatever will be, will be.
I think him and Broadbent play too similar. Like they almost hide a little bit and drift and sort of just wait for the cheap outlet pass.
Yeah, well, you can probably add Cracker to that as well, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, the talk is, and what they showed in the trial game, Cracker might be playing up forward by looks, and he might be handy as a forward player. But yeah, absolutely.
A lot of time up there before. At Gold Coast, at Port Adelaide previously, at the Magpies in the SANFL, he has spent a lot of time up forward, and he does usually play pretty well up there. So I'd certainly be more happy with him playing a forward role and tackling and creating pressure and kicking goals, as opposed to skulking out the back in the back pocket doing not very much.
And that's why Darcy Bird-Jones was fantastic last year for us, because, I mean, he actually got in and got the hard bloody ball and didn't wait for someone to get it out to him. But he was just desperate. He just wanted that ball. And, and when I was explaining to Nicole at the Family Day about Aussie rules and how it works, basically I said the simple rule of football is see ball, get rid of ball. And sometimes some of those guys that we've just rattled off, I don't think do those three instinctive things desperately enough.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. The draftees this year, what are you expecting?
Look, not too much, to be honest. I'd be hoping, like with a mature side, that the mature players are actually forcing their way into the side to be picked. SPP looked okay, but drifted in and out, so I think he might need a little bit of time. But I'm hoping that these players, earn their stripes in the SNFL, do some dominant performances, and maybe some of them get a half a dozen games when we cop a few injuries or a bit of fatigue, and can get their place. And I think that will be a healthy sign that our list is going in the right direction. Yeah,
absolutely. Look, obviously Sam Powell-Pepper is the one that we're all expecting big things from. Whether it happens this year or not, I'm not 100% sure. I think he's going to be playing regular AFL footy. I just hope our expectations of him aren't too high as to put too much pressure on him performing. Can he have a season similar to Ollie Wine's first year? I think he's got the potential to do that. Whether it actually happens, I'm not too sure. Atlee and Drew, I'm expecting to debut this year. I think Atlee could play a lot of games this year as well. Marshall, I'm not expecting big things of for a couple of years. I think he's just too thin. He just needs to learn the game a bit more and build his body up. The one that's the real sort of big question mark and the big talking point for me is Brett Eddy, and whether he can work his way onto the senior list and also play some regular AFL footy and contribute goals up forward.
Well, look, Brett Eddy, I think there'll be an opportunity with Dougal Howard to be able to get onto the senior list, I would imagine. So it's just a matter of whether we're going to need him straight away. I guess Jackson's probably going to take that second tall forward role in the short term, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think he will as well. I think there is a spot free on the senior list anyway, so if he does perform straight away, I think we can elevate him up to the senior list so he can play round one whenever, which would be great. Look, if Brett Eddy's a big success, that'd be wonderful, because we do need another sort of Schultz-like forward up there who can lead strongly, take a good mark and kick accurately, and that's something we really missed last year, and if he can come in and do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I'm with you with Marshall. I really hope that we don't rush him in, and we really sort of allow his body to develop. I think we've been prone to rushing some of these players in at times, and I guess again we sounded like a broken record with Jackson going up forward, and even Brett Eddy on the sidelines, and maybe even Billy Frampton, who for Fairlane was really talking up a lot. I would hope that those players can give Marshall enough time to develop his body, because it sounds like he's got the basic tools to be a great player.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's talk about the AFL as a whole at the moment. Some of these questions were asked by Sleazy on the Bigfooty forum as well, but what are your predictions across the AFL, mate? First off, what's your top four this year?
Well, I think GWS is going to finish top.
Yep.
I think the Bulldogs will be up there again. They haven't had any dramatic injuries, have they? That I haven't heard about.
Probably not.
I don't think so. So I'd assume the Bulldogs will be up there, even though I asked that mischievous question about them dropping out. I'm gonna go as always, because I'm positive that Port is going to be up there. I think we can be good enough for a top four bolting spot, and I guess then. I don't know, I hate to say it, maybe Sydney again. Do you think Sydney's going to back it up again?
I think it's certainly potentially going to happen. I've got GWS, Geelong, Sydney and the Bulldogs. That's my top four this year.
Okay, so similar. So where have you got Port?
I've got Port finishing 6th. I've got the Crows finishing 5th. I've got St Kilda and Freo making out the top 8.
Okay, cool. So that's 2 changes to the top 8?
That would be 3 changes to
3.
the top 8. Yep.
Radical.
So Hawthorn, West Coast and North Melbourne drop out.
So you really think Hawthorn's going to miss finals?
I think so. Yeah, I think they'll drop out.
It'll be really interesting, because I'm always a big advocate for people like the calibre of Mitchell and Lewis and that, and how they define a culture of a footy club. And if you look at the SANFL, I spoke about the Gowan brothers with Centrals and Port with Ginniver and Fiarchi. So going through that logic, I think it will dent Hawthorn's culture a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how strong their culture is with moving those couple of players on.
Well, look, they were playing for history last year, just like Brisbane in 2004 as well. And when Brisbane missed out on that flag, I don't think they made the finals for 3 or 4 years after that. And I'm kind of half expecting Hawthorn to do the same thing. I still think they'll be competitive. I think they'll win, a good sort of 11, 12 games. I just think that they might just miss out.
What did you think of Roughhead being appointed captain? Did you like that, or did you think it was a bit of a token appointment?
I don't think it's a token appointment. I think he's a wonderful player and he's a great leader. He's played fantastic football for a very long time, and it was very unfortunate and sad what happened last year. And praise the Lord, he's over it and ready to give AFL another crack this year and move on. And I think it's a great thing that they made him captain.
I think it's an inspirational appointment as well. I mean, what a great story to overcome a cancer battle, and anyone most of us probably know someone with cancer. It's always one of those things that it's in the back of your mind that could potentially come back, and so I think it's awesome. And I'm like you. I think he's a great player, and he's to me, he comes across as a humble person in football. So I think I just wish him all the best for the 2017 year.
For sure. First coach sacked, mate.
Rodney Eade.
Yeah, he should be up there. I think I've got Gold Coast finishing 17th, and if that happens, I would assume he's going to be sacked before the year's over.
What about your Formula One predictions, Macca? Are you excited about the rule changes, making fatter tyres and faster cars?
Oh, absolutely, mate. Yep.
And were you a bit disappointed that Nico Rosberg pulled the pin and retired?
That was disappointing. Yes, that was.
Oh, just get out on top. Or what sort of a coward's that? He should have backed it up and gone again.
That's it. Look, my first coach sacked is going to be Hardwick, I think.
Oh yeah, he'd be. Yeah, I don't know. They like to hold on to their coaches at Richmond.
Yeah, do they?
Well,
are you sure about that? I reckon they've sacked about 6 mid-year in my lifetime.
I know, but how long have they kept him on the books now? 8 years. They're trying to change their culture, and that's not working for them either.
True. Who's your April premiers, mate?
April premiers. Yeah, I'll go the Bulldogs.
Okay. I've got, looking at the fixture, I've got Richmond winning their first 4 games. They're not winning again until round 10. So, for me, that's the Tigers for me. I reckon if they win the first 4 games, they'll be old cock a hoop. And, if Hardwick can get sacked from there, that'll be amazing.
They could win the first 20 games and I still wouldn't have them as premiership favourites.
True, very true. Potential straight sets finals exit?
That's a good one. Sydney.
Yeah, I've gone Sydney as well. I think if my top 4 are GWS, Geelong, Sydney, Bulldogs, I think Sydney are the most likely to go out in straight sets if that was going to happen. Look, pretty well every year there's a team from the bottom 8, as we said, who end up making the top 4. Do you think that might happen this year? And if so, what team is best poised to do that?
Was St Kilda in the bottom 4?
No, I said bottom 8.
Bottom 8?
They were.
Oh, you said
bottom 8. Yep.
They were bottom
8
4.
making top 4. Yep.
Yeah. Can I do that? I'll take St Kilda.
Okay.
I'll ride your coattails.
All right. Essendon, what are your expectations for them, mate?
Not much.
Half their team back.
Yeah.
Where do you see them finishing?
Well, if everyone's expecting Paddy Ryder and Angus Mumphreys to struggle, how's Essendon going to go with half a team in the same position?
True.
And on a personal Port Adelaide note, I was reflecting on this yesterday. I thought we always did all right against John Worsfold coach team. So from a Port front, I'd hope that we're stacking up pretty well against the Bombers, unless my fading memory is not accurate anymore.
Yeah, could be. Look, I think they will win a lot of games early and then might struggle through the second half of the year. So, they might be sort of top 4 or 5 halfway through the year and then might finish 9th or 10th, I think.
I think they'll run out of fumes.
Yeah. So who wins the flag this year?
GWS.
Yeah, that's my...
If it's not Port, GWS.
Yeah. Wooden Spoon?
I don't know. Who cares? Be a Victorian side, Richmond.
Okay. Wow, Richmond. That'd be interesting. I've got to go with Brisbane again, but I think Collingwood are a big chance as well.
Buckley was sacked, right?
Oh, I would think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Rising Star?
Sam Powell-Pepper.
Okay. I'm going to go Braden Fiorini for Gold Coast, but I think Tom Phillips will be my smoky this year.
I'm no offence, I didn't listen to your draft podcast, man. So I was away. So I don't even know who was drafted. So SPP all the way.
That's it. Brownlow,
Nathan Fyfe.
I've got to go with Danger again, I think.
What was this fake? Was this a fake story about Fyfe being suspended for importing drugs or something?
I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, it must be some sort of crap Facebook article or something. My son tagged me in it a couple of days ago saying that it was an article saying Fyfe to be kicked out of the AFL for importing some sort of borderline illegal hormone or something.
Right, fair enough.
Anyway.
Adelaide predictions, how many wins and where do we finish, mate?
Top 4, 16.
Okay, I've got 6th with 13. Who's the leading goal kicker?
Well, for that it has to be Charlie Dixon, doesn't it, with maybe 60 goals?
Okay. I'm going to say Robbie Gray with 42.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he might spend a lot of time up forward this year. Who wins the best and fairest, mate?
Mate, it is going to be the year of the Chad. He's one on and one off, and this is his on year. He's injury-free. He had a thumb injury for a lot of last season, so Chad is going to play midfield and dominate.
That sounds good to me. I think if Robbie kicks 42 goals, I think he's a shoe-in to win the best and fairest again. I would love to see Ollie Wines win a best and fairest and have that sort of season.
Yep. Sounds pretty good.
That's it. Right, some questions from the Bigfooty forum. Peck has asked, do you think that Atley will play round one?
No.
I don't think he will either, but I think he'll play in the first 3 or 4 rounds.
Good call. Have you been impressed with him so far?
He was my little bunny last year. I was praying that we would pick him up, and we did. I'm absolutely stoked. I can't wait to see him play.
Cool.
Phil Reich has asked, will Toompas ever play for Port Adelaide again?
No, look, he's been very underwhelming as far as I'm concerned, and I'm a bit disappointed. So, yeah, I don't know. He's got a long way to come back.
He does. I think he'll play 4 or 5 games this year and get delisted. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Good
Which
call.
would be sad because he's got a lot of talent. I just think his body and maybe his mindset's not up to it. Grave Danger has asked, did we drown in our own self-importance as a result of drinking our own bathwater?
I don't know. I don't think so. Honestly, look, I still think a lot of it comes down to that we've been outcoached. I don't think our coach's box has been smart enough. And I know people like yourself don't like blaming coaches and want to put the heat on the players, but I just think that compared to a lot of the other teams in the AFL, our structures just have not been as sophisticated.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. CT Power has asked who was forced their way into the 22 and who may miss out from the first 22 from last year.
Too early to tell for me. Give me a couple more games. Let me watch Thursday's game and then I'll go from there. But I guess I'd be hoping that Logan Austin continues getting a gig in the starting 22 because I thought he was great last year in the second half of the year. And we need that little bit of extra height in the defence, especially if Jackson's not going to play there. But and I think that's why they played him on the white team, wasn't it? So he was playing against Dixon as the tall defender. So he'd probably be the one that I'd be looking for.
Look, straight off the bat, we need to replace... From the general best 22 from the second half of last year, we're replacing O'Shea, Stewart and Schultz straight away. So you would think their spots are immediately taken by Ryder, Homsch and Jonas straight off the bat. I'd say someone like Pow Pepper for Amon might happen. I think, as you said, a positional change might see Cracker move forward, Bono maybe into Cracker's spot down back and then Need out of the team. That's something that also might happen, and depending how he goes, we might see Eddie to replace that sort of that role that Schultz had for many, many years up forward as well.
Yep.
Portley has asked, will Will Snelling find it difficult to break into the midfield this year, even if he has the ability?
I think so.
Look,
that's my detailed answer.
Or be a finals type side, you would expect that sort of first string midfield to be delivering on their talent this year. So on that basis, you would think it might be a little bit difficult for someone like Snelling to break in. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's going to play a lot of AFL games. He just needs to bide his time, I think. And I think he's the sort of player that's going to be around the mark, that sort of 23rd to 26th player on the list. So he's going to get his chance. And it's just up to him to make sure he takes it when he gets his opportunity.
Would you play Will Snelling over Sam Gray?
It's a tough one. That's a very tough one. I think Sam Gray's probably a bit ahead at the moment, but I could certainly see Snelling coming in and taking over his role at some point during the year.
I think so too.
Another one who's probably under the pump. He didn't have a great year last year, so he's another one that really needs to find some form, I think. And if he doesn't, there's going to be quite a few players ready to take that chance, I think.
Brendan Archie's the other one as well.
Brendan Archie is another one. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting to see how he goes this year. Obviously, he's got the size. He's at the right age now where he needs to start playing consistent AFL footy. Whether he can or not, whether he's got it in him, I really don't know. I would love to see him play consistent footy this year. He's the sort of player that's going to get 25 to 30 touches a week in the SANFL, but when he gets his shot, he just needs to take it.
Yeah. And look, I thought he was serviceable at the family day. I didn't think he was horrendous as what some people made out. But, look, he just needs to keep stacking it up now.
Yeah. Look, we've got some really good young midfield talent, and I think Archie is certainly in the gun to be delisted if he doesn't sort of perform this year for sure, because there's a lot of people who are younger than him who might deserve the opportunity to potentially get to his spot and beyond in future years.
So can I put in a couple of shameless plugs, Macca?
Mate, we've got Matty Sullivan on the line at the moment.
Have we?
Buddy?
G'day, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Matt, good.
Happy New Year. Happy New Football Year.
Yeah,
Mate, we've got
and
the Porches
Matt,
podcast coming on after this one.
Correct, Craig. Yeah, we've got lots to cover. We'll probably cover just a little bit more different, some of the things that happened throughout the pre-season. We're going to go through a bit of a finer detail on the new recruits and also our players to watch for this year, and also just talk about how the approach for the pre-season leading up to the first game against the Swans on 25th of March.
That's it.
Awesome. Thanks for joining back on Port Fan Radio in 2017, Matty, and tying it in with us.
Well, have a great season. If you ever want to, I'd love to have you guys even jump on our show, or one of you guys come on and spare 5-10 minutes and join us from time to time. And
Sure.
Thanks to New Vision. Thanks to the Port Adelaide Footy Club for what they do, looking after us there as well. And we'll be doing this show a little bit more of a portress, like in Port Adelaide Power, kind of less Maggie's. The thing is now I'm up in Gold Coast. So, and I am going to China as well. So I look forward to catching up with you there, Craig. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Great season. Lots to pack into in this year.
There is. Absolutely.
All right,
Thanks,
boys.
Matt.
Good
Cheers,
show.
buddy.
Chat to you soon.
Bye.
All right, let's talk about the opening pre-season game, which is tomorrow night, Thursday night at Etihad Stadium. We're playing St Kilda. It looks like a pretty strong lineup that we've named. A lot of first 22 players out there, but we're also going to see Powe, Pepper, Eddie, Drew, Atley and Houston for the first time in Powe colours, with some other youngsters in Bonner, Johnson and Snelling also in the squad as well. So a pretty good blend of experience and youth there.
So, which quarter are you anticipating we're going to get the
Deck chairs
the
out.
infamous quote of Houston, we have a problem?
Oh, look, depends who's commentating, but I would expect that by at least the start of the second quarter, I would think.
And so, what are you expecting? Are you expecting a win? I mean, we've got a few young players in there.
Absolutely, I am. Look, St Kilda's named a pretty strong lineup as well. They don't have too many young players in their side. They've named a pretty strong team, so it's going to be a competitive match, I would think. What I want to see is a win. I want to see competent ball movement out of the back line. I want to see a midfield that wins the footy for once. The main thing that I want to see is skill improvement. But yes, I want to see a win. You know, we've got a really tough first month. You know, we need to be switched on from round one. No more deck chairs, no more assistant coaches pulling the strings, no more resting, you know, most of our first team to ease them into the year. I want to see us win and win well. You know, we need to hit the start running this year, and you know, this is an important part of the season. And yes, I want to see us win.
Absolutely, I want to see us win too. So, and look, I think there's enough experience there for us not to have any excuses, really, in this game. And I mean, St Kilda's, we've pointed out, is going to be a bit of an up-and-coming team, so it should be a good challenge.
Yep, absolutely. Can't wait to see them out there, mate.
Neither can I. What time's the game? 7:40. It's on Foxtel, I hope.
Yep, it is. Yep.
Awesome, because I already promised I'd take my father out to dinner, so I'll have to record it and watch it when I get back.
That's it. I'll be doing the same. So I won't be able to watch it live, unfortunately, but certainly as soon as I get home, I'll be turning it on. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Right, shameless plug time. You want to plug, mate?
Well, it was a perfect segue because the shameless plug was to recognise the Portress boys coming on straight after this show, which is great. I like the back-to-back shows. I think that's exciting. And just a very quick one. I just wanted to shout out that anyone that's interested in finance or property, New Vision's got our first round of seminars on the 28th of February, so next Tuesday. We've got a southern seminar, a central seminar, and a northern seminar. There is no hard pressure selling going on in these things. They're just for people to get information. And so if people are interested in finance or property or anything like that, or just wanting to improve themselves, I just recommend come along. We've got some great people doing some speaking and educational pieces. So and it's free entry, and I think there's even free beer. So even more reason to go along.
Free beer, I will be there. Thanks very much.
Do it. Sounds good, my friend. And it's all on the website, so people can have a look and find it from there.
There we go. Right, thank you everybody for tuning in. Obviously, you can subscribe to us either at the Bigfooty Port podcast or Port Fan Radio on iTunes, as well as Port Fan Radio on Spreaker as well. Keep an eye out when the other shows on the Port Fan Radio network will be starting up as well. Obviously, Portress after this. Hopefully, we'll see some of the other shows starting again soon as well. It would be great to have them back for another season. And of course, you can converse with us on both Facebook and, of course, the Bigfooty forums as well.
Absolutely, and we've got a couple of bloggers coming up too. T. Cray said that he's going to do a weekly blog, and Jimmy is going to do a blog, and if I've got time, I'll try and blog something too, and maybe we can get you to blog your top 5, Macca.
Mate, blogs everywhere.
Yeah, we'll be blogging.
Blogmania.
Yes, let's blog it. Better than bogging.
That's it. Right, until next week, buddy.
Ciao, ciao.
Can't the pair.
Power! Butcher! Do I still use Butcher? Butcher.
Spears it inside 50. Schultz comes hard. Flicks it out. Boats. It'd be appropriate. The captain. That is goal class. Leadership agrees with Travis Boat. He's better than ever.